My wife asked the court to pull the plug. She didn't know I could hear everything. I woke up inside a body that would not move. At first, I thought I was still dreaming. There was a machine breathing beside me, a soft plastic rhythm in the room, air, pushing air, leaving air, pushing again. There was a monitor beeping somewhere to my right. There was tape on my skin weight in my chest and a dryness in my throat, so deep it felt like someone had poured sand behind my tongue. I tried to open my eyes. Nothing happened. I tried to lift my hand. Nothing happened. I tried to scream. My mouth stayed silent. That was the first horror. The second horror came when I realized I could hear everything. A nurse adjusted something near my bed and said, "Pressure is holding." Another voice answered family meeting at 2. Then my wife began to cry. Marissa had always been good at crying quietly. Not messy, not loud. Beautiful grief. The kind that made people lower their voices and offer chairs. She sat beside my bed holding my hand, as if she was the only thing keeping me attached to the world. "My poor Liam," she whispered. I wanted to squeeze her fingers. I wanted to tell her I was there. I wanted to ask what happened. My hand lay dead in hers. A doctor came in and said words I caught in pieces: severe trauma, swelling, uncertain response, guarded prognosis. Marissa asked careful questions. She sounded broken but not confused. That mattered later. She knew exactly which words to use. Then the doctor left. My brother Dean walked in. I knew his footsteps before I knew my own body. Dean dragged one heel slightly when he was tired. I had teased him for it when we were kids. He used to say I noticed everything because I wanted to prove I was better. Marissa stopped crying. That was the first thing that did not fit. The room became quiet except for the machine. Dean said, "How much time do we have?" Marissa leaned closer to him. "If he starts talking," she whispered, "we're finished." That was how I learned my accident was not the worst thing that had happened to me. My name is Liam Calder. I was 41 years old when my wife asked a court to let me die. Not because I was gone, because I was inconvenient. Before the accident, I owned Calder Safety Systems, a small industrial safety inspection company my father and I built from his old repair shop. We inspected warehouse lifts, conveyor guards, emergency shutoffs, and all the mechanical things nobody respects until one failure ruins a life. My father taught me that machines do not lie. A relay is open or closed. A sensor is active or bypassed. A log is clean or altered. People lie. I built my company around one rule. If a system could kill a worker, we did not sign off until it was safe. Dean worked for me as operations manager. He was my younger brother, charming when useful and bitter when ignored. I had spent years giving him chances because I confused family with trust. 3 weeks before the accident, I found the first altered inspection report. It was for Vossler Distribution, a warehouse client with a high-speed pallet lift system. Dean had submitted a pass rating on a bay where the interlock sensor had not tested correctly. The interlock was simple. If the access gate opened, the lift should stop. It was not a luxury feature. It was the difference between a machine waiting and a machine crushing a person who stepped in at the wrong time. I called Dean into my office. He came in smiling. What did I do now? I turned my monitor toward him. This bay failed on the first test, so we retested. There is no retest log. It was verbal from their floor manager. I stared at him. Safety is not verbal. Dean's smile faded. Liam, they were going to pull the contract. It was one sensor. One sensor can kill someone. Everything is life or death with you. In this business, yes. He leaned back and laughed without humor. You know what your problem is. You still think Dad is watching. I should have suspended him that day. Instead, I gave him 48 hours to bring me the missing documentation. That was my second mistake. The night before the accident, I texted him. We need to talk about the bypassed interlock before the ethics review. He never answered. The next morning, I went to Vossler myself. I remember the cold in the warehouse. I remember the smell of oil and cardboard. I remember seeing the lift gate open when it should have locked the system. I remember thinking someone has bypassed it manually. Then there was a sound above me, a metal cough, a shadow, then nothing. Or what I thought was nothing. But nothing has no sound. I heard plenty. I heard Marissa tell Dean they were finished if I talked. I heard Dean say, the sale agreement has to close before his neuro review. I heard Marissa say, if the court gives me guardianship, I can authorize everything. I heard the word directive. I heard the word ventilator. And I lay there, trapped behind my own eyes, learning that the people I trusted were already dividing my life while my body was still warm. The first time a doctor said possible vegetative state, Marissa inhaled like someone had struck her. Oh God, she whispered. The doctor said, we need more time. There are signs we still need to evaluate. Marissa asked. But if there's no meaningful recovery, meaningful? That word burned. A man can be alive and still hear people debate whether his life has meaning. Dean said, my brother always said he wouldn't want to be kept alive by machines. No, I had not. I had said once after watching a documentary that I would not want to be abandoned in a room where no one checked if I was still in there. That is different. People like Marissa steal half a sentence and turn it into a weapon. 2 days later, she came to my bedside with an attorney. Not mine, hers. I know because he called her Mrs. Calder in the tone men use when the check has already cleared. He explained softly that she was filing for emergency medical guardianship and temporary control of marital assets. He mentioned my company, my accounts, my shares, my treatment plan. Then he said they had located my advance care directive. My what? Marissa stroked my arm. Liam was very clear about not wanting to suffer, she said. I tried to move. Nothing. The attorney continued. The directive said I did not want prolonged artificial life support if I had no reasonable chance of recovery. It authorized Marissa to make decisions. It bore my signature. I wanted to laugh, which is a strange thing to want when you cannot breathe on your own. I had never signed that document. I knew I had never signed it because Marissa and I had fought about it the year before. She wanted both of us to sign estate documents when a competitor approached to buy Calder safety. I refused to bundle personal directives with business planning. She called me paranoid. I called it boundaries. Now my boundaries had a forged signature. But a forged signature still needs a date, and Marissa's first real mistake was putting one on it. The directive was dated 3 days after my accident. 3 days after my accident, I was intubated, sedated, restrained at the wrists, and charted as unable to consent. I did not know that yet, but someone else would. Her name was Nora Bell. Nora was an ICU nurse with tired eyes and the kind of voice that did not waste words. She did not call me honey. She did not talk over me as if I were a couch. When she cleaned my face, she told me what she was doing before she did it. Cold cloth now, Mr. Calder. Turning your head a little, checking your pupils. Most people spoke around me. Nora spoke to me. One night after Marissa left, Nora stood beside the bed longer than usual. Mr. Calder, she said quietly, I need to know if I am imagining something. I focused everything I had on her voice. If you can hear me blink once. My body was a locked building. My eyelids were the only window. I dragged every part of myself toward that window. Blink. Nora did not gasp. That is why she saved my life. A dramatic person would have shouted for a doctor alerted Marissa made noise too soon. Nora only looked at the monitor, then back at me. Good, she whispered. Again. Blink once if your name is Liam. Blink. Oh, blink once if your name is Dean. I held still. Her face changed, but barely. Okay, she said. You are in there. Those 5 words were the first bridge back to the world. You are in there. Oh. She documented pupil response, requested a neurology consult, and made sure another nurse witnessed command testing. Nora did not create a scene. She built a record. Dr. Elias Voss came that afternoon. He was not warm. I liked that. Warmth is not always useful in a room full of lies. He performed tests slowly, light, sound, commands, blink once, blink twice, look up, look left. At first my responses were inconsistent. Nora leaned close once and said, do not rush. Slow is still real. By the second session, Dr. Voss stopped calling my responses reflexive. By the third, he said Mr. Calder demonstrates conscious awareness with severe motor impairment. Then she wiped her face and said, "Now we get you protected." Protected was not simple. Meanwhile, Marissa was petitioning for medical guardianship, Dean was pushing company documents through under emergency authority, and Helix Compliance Group was circling the business my father and I built. Nora contacted the patient advocate, and the advocate brought in Oliver Grant, an attorney who specialized in guardianship abuse and medical fraud. He arrived with a legal pad and no wasted sympathy. "Mr. Calder," he said, "I am going to ask yes or no questions. Blink once for yes, no blink for no. If you become fatigued, we stop. You control the pace." Oliver asked if I understood who he was. Blink. Oh. If I wanted him to represent my interests. Blink. Oh. If I had signed an advance directive after the accident. No blink. Oh. If I had ever signed one before. No blink. Oh. If I believed Marissa knew it was false. Blink. Oh. If Dean was involved. Blink. Oh. Then Oliver asked, "Is there evidence outside the hospital?" Blink. Oh. He moved closer. "Company?" Blink. Oh. "Financial records?" No blink. Oh. "Safety records?" Blink. Oh. "Warehouse accident?" Blink. He began reciting letters with Nora's help. A. No blink. O. B. No blink. O. C. No blink. This took forever. It was exhausting. It was humiliating. It was also the first time since waking that my mind could move something in the world. We built the word one letter at a time. First, N-A-E-R-L-O-C-K. Interlock. Oliver looked down at the word. "What is interlock?" Nora asked. Oliver did not know. But Dean did. And I did. The next word took 2 sessions. N-A-S. Oh. Then, closet. Oh. Oliver frowned. N-A-S closet. Blink. Oh. The hidden backup. Oh. But machines remember. Rosa Martinez, our former office manager, had been fired by Dean 4 days after the accident. She knew the books, the old backups, and every password Dean was arrogant enough not to change. Oliver found her. Rosa had copies of deleted emails, revised inspection reports, and a message from Marissa asking whether owner approval records could be cleaned up before Liam was medically reviewed. The NAS was in the supply closet behind 3 boxes of outdated printer toner. The backup did not show the entire accident clearly. The camera from the night before showed Dean entering the Vossler warehouse at 11:48 p.m., opening the control cabinet at Bay 4 and removing the interlock fuse. Then he texted the floor manager. Rosa recovered the message from a company backup. Dean to Vossler floor manager. "Gate won't stop lift now. Run him through the morning check and act surprised if he catches it. After that, I'll handle Liam. Handle Liam." But he created the condition that made it possible, then watched my wife try to turn my silence into death. The directive fell apart next. Oliver subpoenaed the notary record. The notary admitted Marissa brought the directive already signed and claimed I had executed it at home before the accident. He never saw me sign. Then the metadata arrived. The directive had been printed from Marissa's home office printer 2 days after the accident. The PDF had been created from a template downloaded the same morning. My alleged signature was pasted from an old equipment financing agreement. She came to my room wearing the cream sweater I used to like. Her hair was pulled back, no jewelry except her wedding ring. Grief costume revised for court. Nora stayed in the room. "I'd like a moment alone with my husband." Nora checked the IV line. "Not right now. I'm his wife, and he is my patient." Marissa leaned over me anyway. "Liam," she whispered. "I know this is scary. People are going to make you think things. But I am trying to do what you wanted." Then she lowered her voice. "You always said you didn't want to be trapped. You don't have to fight. I could not appear safely in person, but Dr. Voss insisted I could provide live video testimony through controlled yes or no response." Marissa objected. Oliver called it what it was, fear of a conscious patient. Oliver replied, "Conveniently unreliable is not the same as medically unreliable." The judge allowed it. "My brother built an amazing company," he said. "I only want to protect his legacy." Then Oliver played the first video. It was me in the hospital bed. Dr. Voss stood beside me. "Mr. Calder," he said on the recording, "do you understand? This hearing concerns your medical care and legal rights." Blink. Did you sign the Advance Care Directive dated March 14th? No blink. Oh. Do you want continued treatment? Blink. Oh, wait. Do you want Marissa Calder to make medical decisions for you? No blink. So, even through a screen, I could feel it. Marissa's crying stopped. Dean looked at her before he looked at me. That was the look of people realizing the dead man has been taking notes. Oliver moved next with the ICU record. March 14th, patient intubated, sedated, wrist restraints applied for line protection, unable to consent. Then the printer metadata. Template downloaded March 14th at 9:12 a.m. from Marissa's home IP address. PDF created 9:26 a.m. Document printed 9:31 a.m. Notary stamp applied 2:45 p.m. Then my old financing agreement with the original signature she had copied. Then the NAS footage. Dean at the control cabinet. Dean removing the fuse. Dean texting the floor manager. "Gate won't stop, lift now. Run him through the morning check. I'll handle Liam." Dean stood up. "That is out of context." The judge told him to sit down. He did not. He was going to ruin everything over one censor, Dean shouted. There are confessions people plan, and there are confessions that escape because pride cannot bear being cornered. One censor. The judge heard it. The court reporter typed it. Oliver did not smile. He did not need to. Dr. Voss testified after that. Mr. Calder is not brain dead. He is not in a vegetative state. He demonstrates conscious awareness and consistent yes-no communication through ocular response. His motor impairment is severe, but his cognition is present. Marissa's attorney tried one last time. "Doctor, is it possible the patient's responses are influenced by fatigue or staff interpretation?" Dr. Voss said, "Fatigue affects speed. It does not forge documents." That was the line the judge wrote down. The petition was denied. Marissa's emergency guardianship was revoked. She was barred from making medical decisions for me. An independent fiduciary was appointed over disputed assets. The company sale was frozen. The directive was referred for investigation. Dean's conduct at Vossler was referred to occupational safety authorities and law enforcement. Marissa did not look at me when it ended. Dean did. He looked like a boy again. Not sorry. Caught. People think revenge feels like fire. Mine felt like someone opening a window in a room where I had been suffocating. I still could not speak. I still could not lift my hands. I still needed machines and nurses and time. But nobody in that room could call my silence agreement anymore. That was the first thing I got back. Consent. Oh, after the hearing, Marissa tried to visit once. Nora stopped her at the unit doors. "She's my wife," Marissa said. Nora answered, "Not his decision-maker." I wish I had seen her face. Marissa was charged later after the notary accepted a plea and testified that she brought the directive to him unsigned by any witness. Her defense was grief, stress, confusion. Confusion printed a PDF from a template. Confusion copied my signature from a loan document. Confusion tried to sell my company while I blinked from a hospital bed. I did not attend those early proceedings. I was busy learning how to swallow again, then how to move two fingers, then how to make sound. The first word I spoke was not Marissa. It was not Dean. It was not revenge. It was no. A speech therapist cried when I said it. I did not. I had already cried enough inside places no one could see. Months later, I returned to Calder Safety Systems in a wheelchair. The office smelled like dust and old coffee. Dean had stripped half the place before the freeze hit. 2 desks gone, 1 testing kit missing, client files boxed badly. My father's workbench pushed against a wall like junk. Rosa was waiting there with 3 former employees. Nobody clapped. Thank God. Clapping would have broken me. Rosa just said we kept what we could. I nodded. My voice was rough. Then we rebuild what we can. Oliver placed a folder on my father's workbench. Inside were documents removing Marissa and Dean from all company authority, confirming independent asset protection, and canceling the Helix sale. He set a pen beside them. "No rush," he said. My right hand still shook. My fingers did not close cleanly. The first attempt dragged ink across the page like a wounded insect. I stopped, breathed, tried again. L, first, A, M, Calder. It took nearly a minute to sign my own name. The signature was ugly, crooked, nothing like the one Marissa pasted onto the directive. But that was the point. It was slow because it was mine. It shook because I was alive. Rosa took the document and held it like it weighed more than paper. My father used to say a good signature is not the prettiest one. It is the one a man stands behind. I stood behind that one from a wheelchair. I still have bad days, but I am here. Not because Marissa loved me, not because Dean had mercy, because one nurse understood that a silent patient is not an empty one, because one doctor cared more about evidence than assumptions, because one lawyer knew that the body can be trapped while the truth is still free, and because my wife made one mistake. She thought unconscious meant erased. Dean thought one censor was not worth a life. Marissa thought a forged signature could speak louder than the man she tried to silence. They were all wrong. A man can lose his voice for a while and still remember the sound of his own name. They forged my name while I was silent. But silence was not consent. It was evidence waiting for a voice. Oh, and when I finally signed again, I signed the papers that took everything back.